happy for
Yeah.
you. Ah, Detective Holly is on the case.
Well, I don't know if that's where TJ's already been, but we can always discuss it later.
What?
We are almost live. Where are
I think
we?
we are live.
I think you're right. We are live for. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Now we are live, and recorded live right here on Triple T number 169 on March 25th, 2025. Ah, welcome to Triple T. My name is TJ Zebel. I like to call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up that no, I don't know everything. I just have a unique way of asking lots of questions to help people find the solutions they are looking for. What a week! Yes, but we were discussing that earlier, and we'll move on to better things, like the fact that we are live on YouTube, which means I get to say, "Hi, Mom." Mom's watching up in lovely Minnesota, where I grew up, and now I'm living down in Dallas, Texas area, where Mother Nature isn't quite sure. Today was summer, and yesterday was spring. The day before that was, we're not sure. But enough about that. If you are watching on YouTube, please do me all of the no charge YouTube favors. Click the subscribe button and ring the bell and leave comments and hit the like button and share with others. It doesn't cost you a thing, but it sure helps me out and helps all of us get the world of our community out to the world of the rest of the communities where we can help people, because that is our main mission. Also have a website that we're still doing little things on, so if it's been a good hot minute since you've been on the website, please go check it out. The URL is thetswb.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. And that is he, and he is I, he am I, and I am him, and all the above. You're going to find just a small fraction of all the things that I am blessed to be able to help people with, including helping people with depression, anxiety, phobias, grief, PTSD, addictions, smoke cessation, weight loss. But I can't reverse country records. I don't know if I can get you your dog back or your ex back or your house back, but we can certainly try. I do, however, offer a free, that's right, no charge to you, 30-minute consultation. That's your opportunity to talk to me for no charge whatsoever for 30 minutes about whatever challenges you are feeling you're up against. And at the end of that, my promise to you is if we are a fit, I will let you know and give you a layout of a plan to get that fixed. Also, if I am not a fix or a fit, if I'm not a fit, I promise I will also let you know that. I don't want to waste your time and money. I would prefer to help you find the right person for the challenge that you're up against. Looks like it's time to introduce the tie of the week. This tie is actually a new one, not new to me. It's from the collection that didn't make it through the year last year. So this is not a repeat. It's a tad on the darkish side. It has a nice little sheen to it. Good power tie, they call them. From my power tie collection. For those of you that are brand new to Triple T or watching for the very first time, the way we do things here, the first hour, we run 2 hours. The first hour, I do my best to make it through 3 topics that I came up with this week. And the second hour is open platform, open mic. Anybody on the call can ask a question or bring up a topic. And I let all the people on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And if there's anything else I feel I can provide after everybody's answered, that's when I offer up my two centavos. So, got that done. Another way I like to start Triple T is seeing who's got something they would like to share from the last 7 days. Who's got something good? What's going on? Anybody? Lenora.
I would say lots of good things. And I'm curious, I'm going to ask you all if you've heard of what is known as reality transurfing in our part two. So I'm very intrigued to hear your thoughts on such things.
All right.
Yeah.
So we've already got a topic for hour number two, so stick
Yes, we do.
around.
Mhm.
And if you're wondering about the DJ voice, uh, one of my clients has been wanting to get back into DJing. He did it for quite a while when in his younger days, like I did, and he realized he was dragging his feet because he had a bit of fear of public speaking settling back in after all these years. Judgment, what are they going to think of me and all the above? And can I still do it? So, anybody else got anything fun they want to share from the last 7 days? All right. Sometimes no news is good news. Then it's time to announce tonight's topics. This ought to be interesting once I post these on my YouTube channel.
It's so exciting because now, since you're not on Facebook, we have no idea what the topics are.
Yeah. Well, this week, actually, they came up feeding crows, kick the dog, and terms. And I promise you, no animals were harmed in the making of this topic. So we'll jump right in. Feeding crows. Feeding crows actually came from me out and about grocery shopping yesterday. And I was in the checkout line, nobody behind me, so I had a nice quick minute to chit chat with the cashier. And I just said, tell me something good. Tell me a good thing about what have you enjoyed about the day so far? And this person lit up, big smile. I am so glad you asked. And I went, wow. Even I wasn't exactly ready for that much energy in the response. And so they go on to tell me that on their lunch break, they were outside eating a donut. And a crow came down and they fed the crow. And they were just in this zone, enjoying their donut while enjoying watching a crow enjoy the donut. And they said they saved the last little bit for the crow and got to spend another 2-3 minutes out there. And the reason I brought this up was sometimes it saddens me how tough people think it is to find good stuff in the day, or how hard it is to create your own happiness. And sometimes it can, oh, I saw that. Go ahead.
Do you think it's one of those things where people take it for granted, as if to say that it's no longer as valuable or as inspiring or as moving?
I think it very well could be, because in the same Respect Avenue, whatever you want to call it, there could have been somebody witnessing the whole thing. You could have had three people witness that transaction with three different responses. I mean, negative Nancy over there is like, oh my God, why would you waste a good portion of a donut and that dirty bird? Oh my gosh, there could have been bugs on that bird. You don't know what that bird's carrying. You could have went back into work and you could have been infected with death. And then there could have been me, who just saw that, and to be honest with you, I didn't even care about the bird. The happiness this person got out of giving up a couple of crumbs from a donut, I almost wanted to buy them another donut. Like, here's another donut. Go see if you can find your crow.
I could totally see that.
And again, we see so many people out there that Prozac for how many years? Depression for how long? And yet you still have all of these options for happiness around you. Mark.
Yeah, I was my question for the second half has to do with I was watching this podcast on the elements. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but it's the four major elements of happiness. And it was a very interesting podcast. The organization that was sponsoring it was ACA, and they talk about just one 15 minutes. He was a psychologist, and he was talking about he has an entire course on the elements of happiness in business, and but yeah, I won't belabor it now, but I'll ask the question in the second hour, see what you guys think about how he categorized the elements of happiness.
Looking forward to it. Now we've got two topics for the second hour. And I just had somebody text me because we are no longer on Facebook after I got hacked, and they're trying to figure out how to log in. So I'm going to do my best to keep going. And Lenora, could you send me the numbers?
Yeah, for.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And where were we? Back to crows. It's I got the numbers here. 1. Yes, technical right here in front of you live. That's why we love working live, because you never know what to expect.
I had a story I was going to tell about
Please
one
do.
time I was sitting outside a restaurant, and I was I think I was just relaxing with a cup of tea, and this butterfly came down and was circling around me. So I put up my finger, and he landed right on my finger. And I looked at him, he looked at me. I said, "Are you message or messenger?" And he just flapped his wings, and he didn't answer. So but the fact that he would land, just on my finger as I held it up, and you know, he was giving me the you know, the stare down, and I was like, okay, well, you know, whether you're message or messenger, you know, oh, thank you, and he took off. But it made me happy that the butterfly came down and it landed right on my finger, and
Yeah.
we had a little conversation. It was one-sided, but
And I'm
I don't
glad
know.
you brought that
Glad
up.
it,
A couple of
oh,
squirrels,
sorry.
a couple of my squirrels ran around with telling me that when they when you hear the expression slow down, enjoy the ride, what's the best way to catch a butterfly? Sit down. If you chase them, they're anybody who's tried to chase and catch a butterfly will tell you they may look little light and fluffy and flighty, but they're hard to catch. But if you just sit down, and I've, as a photographer, I don't know how many times working with kids and even adults, butterflies will be around and they're like, oh, you know, big. I said, just sit down once. And whether I manifested it or not, whoop, I've got a picture of a little girl with one right on her nose. And I also have a picture of a young lady holding a hummingbird. And people are like, how? I said, I just told them to relax, sit down, put your hand out, change your energy. Michael.
Yes, sir. I have to say it's probably a message, not messenger, or not um, message or messenger. He was asking, Mark, you were asking, do you have a message, or what were you saying? The word?
I asked him, are you message or messenger?
And I would say that it's a little of both because, like, when you look at butterflies and how do you hold a butterfly? You can't squeeze it. You know, you just got to let it be, right? And they use the analogy with butterflies as far as like when you're trying to um, hone a skill or uh, connect with your inner being. You can't force it. You just have to let it be,
Yep.
you know? So anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. I like the idea. So anyway, sorry for
Yeah.
sidetracking.
And
Have you met us? We love squirrels. Sidetracking. Sorry. What? Crazy talk.
and I've myself have had quite a number of butterflies come and land. And there's just something magical about it. I ain't gonna lie. I get a butterfly to land on me. I'm eight again. There's a arboretum in Fort Worth that we went to, and every year they have a butterfly uh, expose with all these different butterflies, and you have to go basically through an airlock to get in there. It's a blast. You get in there, and man, but people were amazed at how many landed on me. Like, well, apparently I look like a tree. I'm not sure. Buchnik. And again, right back to feeding crows, feeding birds, finding things that can bring you happiness for free. Holding a dog, petting a dog, petting somebody else's dog as long as it's a cool dog. And I'm curious, what are some other things that you guys can think of that can create easy happiness for no charge? And no, Nancy, I'm not leaving cats out. I've had cats. We like cats too. Lenora.
I think it's just coming into the present moment and not thinking about what's coming or what's behind you. And it's just coming down into the present moment and being present with something pleasurable, something delightful.
Yes.
Could be food, could be an animal, could be a person that you're with.
And I'm so glad you brought up food. People that know me know I am a foodie. I like food. And I it makes me sad when I realize when when I was young and growing up, we had family supper. You would sit at the table with the family, you'd pray, you'd eat, and you learned table manners, you learned all the above. And I don't see that much anymore. Microwaves and hot pockets and travel food and quick and easy and all this stuff. And when I lived in Europe, it showed me a whole different level of food. Not as in amazingly prepared, the their outlook to food. Food was not meant to be eaten quickly so you can get it in your gut and get back to whatever you were doing. Eating was a form of relaxation, enjoyment, conversation. Mark.
Yeah. Um, a quick squirrel. When we were in Italy, we learned that slow service is good service because we were sitting by the Grand Canal having dinner, and it was 3 hours, and you really didn't care. You were enjoying and I ate things I had no idea what I ate, but um, I have no to this day I don't know what a prawn is, but I ate one. But I but slow service, is good service. You just take your time. You enjoyed the conversation. Again, a lot of wine. Sitting by the Grand Canal. Like I said, but it must have taken 3 hours. It was an amazing meal. But other things that make me happy is like getting out in nature. Listening to a babbling brook. Just finding your center. You know, those is one of the other things that if it doesn't cost anything and it makes you happy.
Quick squirrel dropped by and pointed out they've proven there is something to being a tree hugger. The, and I remember when I was a kid, when I heard that expression, it wasn't said in a kind way. All those bleeping tree huggers. But the power of getting out in nature, getting out in I remember when I was a kid, man, we had lots of woods around where we lived. Our parents didn't know where we were. There were no cell phones. There was a lot of woods and lakes and ponds and sloughs and sinkholes and all sorts of places where young kids could magically disappear. Michael.
Along the food line, US versus Europe versus Mexico versus everywhere. We've got the 15-minute chairs, the 30-minute chairs, and the hour chairs when you go to restaurants in the United States, based on comfort because they try to do it so they can turn the table. When you
Yes.
go to Mexico, which I'll be going to Mexico come Tuesday next week, I'll be 3 months in Cabo, so come visit.
Rock and roll.
And their biggest thing is they say provecho, and provecho is my favorite Spanish word. And buen means good. Provecho means prosperous and enjoy your meal, basically. So they wish you enjoyment and good nourishment for your family, and they'll never bring you a bill unless you're at a tourist trap because it's all about having time. Like Mark was saying, slow service. It's
Yes.
all about not rushing, but enjoying the ones you're with. Provecho. So prosperity and wealth and health. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And it when you look when you get a chance to travel to these non-touristy areas, especially like in old Europe and old South America, old Mexico. Yeah, the time is just idea of a siesta, a little nappy nap, a little relaxer time. They don't consider that a luxury. They consider that breathing. That's just you. That's what you do. There were a couple of towns in Europe when I was there. The church bell rings. You better find yourself a table because the restaurant people aren't serving much more. It's time for their siesta. And so you'll get food on the table and drinks are with a pitcher. Like, here's your carafe of wine, but it's noon. Yeah, that's why you only get one carafe. And just relax. Life is going to happen anyway. Time will go on regardless. And somehow they still manage to get stuff done. Any other ahas, inputs, epiphanies that you guys would like to share on this? Lenora.
I think there's so much beauty to be learned from being in other places. And there are so many studies of people that when they say they go on vacation, they probably eat more than what they normally do, but they somehow ended up losing weight. Or
Yes.
they had things were much more vibrant, much more joyful because they changed a few things. And there's a lot of studies that actually say that your location has memory, your daily routine has memory, and living in the same house. That's why they say to change your furniture, change your clothes, change your hairstyle when you're trying to make changes in your life. And I think there's so many beautiful things that can be learned from living in places like Mexico or living in places like Italy or whatever the case may be, whatever inspires you. But you really get to see that it isn't always about the grind and it isn't always about hustling as hard as you can. And I do think that there is an absolute balance because just like there is toxic positivity where they're like, oh, everything's rainbows and sunshine. There's also hustle toxicity. There's that hustle culture that can really lead into going too hard and not feeling like enough. And the more that I've grown and the more that I've understood and the more things that I've explored, the more that it resonates with me that it is about alignment. And nobody can tell you what alignment is for you except you. You have to trudge through your own stuff. You have to figure it out. You can learn from other people, but until you quite literally embody it, until you feel it and you go, oh, that's it. It really is something wonderful to explore and to really get curious about. And I love the phrase by Abraham Hicks, and they say, words don't teach, only life experience teaches, because that's really quite true. People can tell you all they want, but until you experience it, until you really, truly, viscerally feel it, it won't make as much sense as it could.
100%. 100%. Me trying to explain to people the Eiffel Tower. I saw, I don't know how many pictures of the Eiffel Tower growing up, but when I got to call my mom from the second story of the Eiffel Tower, that was a whole different experience. Michael.
Europeans live longer, they're healthier, their marriages last longer, they take more vacations than us. They've got a minimum of 30 days that they have to take. In America, we're on the work, 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 die program.
Yeah.
They're on the work to live program. And we'll sell our time back. And there, if you try to sell your time back to the job, you get penalized. It costs you money instead of getting paid money.
Yep.
So it's a good thing. Work-life balance. Lenore, you're right on it.
Mark.
Yeah, when you're in alignment, like I said, like I said, you're in that special quiet place. Like I said, like Lenora said, it's you're you're you find that centimeter of contentedness deep inside of yourself, and it's particular vibe, particular frequency, and you're always trying to get back to that frequency. But to what you were saying, TJ, like I said, these sometimes these smart aleck kids, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how many videos you've watched. I said I've been in Trinity College in Dublin and in the library where the Book of Kells is, and you can know everything in the world. You do not know how those 10,000 manuscripts, the smell of all that. I love libraries anyways, but all those folios that were, written by hand, and 10,000 of them in the Book of Kells, you have no idea what it smells like in there. You can know everything in the world, but you will not, unless you experience it, you will not know what that feels like.
100%. When I was in Europe, I've got a picture that I showed where I'm 6'4", and I'm by this they call it a church, and there's a man door inside of. If my hand represents the whole door, here's the man door, and I almost half the size of the man door inside of the large door. So when they have large things, they open up the big doors. And this trying to explain the sound of music inside of one of those places is like trying to explain how a rose smells. You can try, but it doesn't do it justice. Anybody else got anything? Oh, on Lenore's comment, Squirrel came back and reminded me. I was reading through when I spent my year in Europe. I made myself do a diary, and I was going through my diary and found out there were a couple of times they got a little frustrated with my appetite because I was a hardworking 21-year-old. Again, Mom, I I don't know how you fed me and two other kids. I ate enough for the whole family, and then you had to provide for two adults and two other kids as well. But I didn't gain any weight while I was there eating all that food because it was real food. Yeah, what a concept. So, anybody else before we change gears? All right, on to topic number 2. Kick the dog. And again, no dogs were harmed in the process of this. It actually came from one of
Really
my,
come with disclaimers.
yeah, well, in this day and age, I'm a dog lover. There's lots of dog lovers out there. We are not kicking dogs. Nobody's kicking dogs. It's a phrase. And this one came up from one of my um, relationship clients who has graduated from Triple P, the Perfect Partner Protocol. And they had somebody from their past, long past, look them up and wants to court them and is interested. And they were telling me what they were telling this person from their past, who actually, by the details in their journal for their perfect partner, meets a lot of criteria, a lot of them. The reason I brought up kick the dog is they are so adamant about making sure that this person knows you're going to be tested. You're going to, and I'm not standing, and I'm not the person I used to be, and this, I won't tolerate this anymore, and I'm not going to tolerate this anymore, and this, and this. And I went, whoa, 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 easy, easy, easy. Is this how you treat somebody new that you would meet out in public? Well, no, I just want to make sure that they know that I'm the. And I said, I'm pretty sure if you told them a quarter of what you've just told me, pretty clear. But remember, even loyal dogs will leave if you kick them enough. You told me this person fits the vast majority, well over 80% of all the things you've written in your journal for your person. How many times are you going to kick them to let them know that you're going to be in charge of your life and you won't tolerate anything? If you kick them enough, you won't even get to find out if they're a match. You'll drive them away. And what we found out, it was too easy. They had put up with narcissistic jerks for so long that they would try to turn a 6 into a king. And now that a potential king or queen has shown up, well, there's got to be something wrong, and I'm not going to stand for it. And I've seen this pattern a number of times before. Well, they're too boring. I got to find somebody else. They're boring and well, they're predictable. Okay? And this has come up before in other stuff. When I work with them, I'm like, don't spill all of the beans right away. There has to be a little bit of mystery. You can't be too predictable. How many people have watched a movie and even though it was good, what was wrong with the movie? Ah, predictable. And the funny thing is, there are people that like that. That's why Hallmark movies work out. Same 12 actors, different house with a picket fence, same storyline. Doesn't matter what Hallmark movie is on the screen, you can walk in, watch 4 minutes and go, oh, I know what part of the movie we're in. Yes. And there are people out there going, I just love Hallmark movies, oh my gosh. And then there are other people that have to have the,
I love Hallmark movies. Oh my gosh.
oh my gosh. Yes, they're great. Again, same 12 actors, same storyline, different house with a picket fence.
Best $6.99 I spend every month.
And there are people that have the same feeling about food. They want that predictability. But if you go into the restaurant and you're like, and it's got to be gluten free, and I don't want this, and I don't want that, and it's got to be medium rare, and not like medium rare, and it can't be medium rare. It's got to be like medium rare, and I don't want my gravy touching my vegetables, and the chef is going, Burger King's right down the street. Help yourself. Well, I heard this was a good place. It is. But not for you. And I've watched so many people in relationships wonder why they keep ending up with the same loser in a different meat suit. In fact, I just saw a Instagram, a guy who is a multimillionaire, public speaker, well known, had a woman that he absolutely adored. He was too predictable, too easy. So she left him for an artist who did a ton of drugs, got her pregnant, and she was living in a mobile home, working at an assisted living facility. Nothing against them, right, Mom? My mom did it for a long time. But then she came back to him going, oh, I was wrong. I just do it. And after about 4 months of them being together, and he was about to invite her to move in with her kid into his beautiful big house, she was right back with the druggie. Too predictable. Too nice. It's an interesting facet of the what I call human condition. We get so used to stuff that's not healthy for us. But I really like the maple brown sugar candy coated bacon triple whopper with honey glaze. But I ordered it with a Diet Coke, a 72 ouncer, and I got to, it was only 20 cents more to supersize it, so why wouldn't I? How long you been ordering that meal? Oh, I don't even have to order it anymore. I just walk in and they're like, oh, here they are. I go sit down, they bring it to me with 17 packets of ranch on the side. I love that stuff. I could just drink it. But I can't figure out why I'm not very healthy. And I tried drinking water. Do you know how bad water tastes? Ugh. And they'll go right back. Boring, predictable. And so we have to take a little assessment. Is the boring, predictable really that boring and predictable, or have we become so used to the fight that we're in that when we no longer need to fight, now what are we going to do? I mean, this person compliments me and asks me what I think and doesn't want me to buy them things constantly. Well, what am I going to do with that? All my advice to them was don't kick the dog too hard while you're trying to tell them you were not going to put up with it anymore, especially if they're not doing anything wrong. Any input, ahas, epiphanies? Mark, I can feel my arteries hardening listening to that story. Yeah. I've feasted with those folks before. All of the above. I actually have a lot of people that give me a hard time because of the amount of time that it takes for me to prepare my food. Because I know that I eat my food visually, olfactory, and gustatory, which means I want it to smell great. I want it to look great. The presentation. If I have the ability, I want to have a little bit of extra time to do the things that make the plate look good. Believe it or not, it actually makes it taste better. Anything else to add to that before we move? Michael?
Absolutely, 100%, man. I was guilty of having a broken picker for a long time.
Having a what for a long time?
A broken picker.
Oh, yes.
I picked the same type of lady like 6 times. Like, and then when you realize, hey, oh, they're a taker. Oh yeah. Oh, you just gave this person a house. Oh, okay. Um, there's the problem, and the problem is the picker.
Yep.
So you got to put the work in. So I took time off, put the work in, and did much better. But follow your protocol. You know, if you don't have a counselor you can work with or somebody you can trust, reach out to TJ. TJ's got a plan. He can help.
I told a lot of people I didn't come up with triple P to sell to the masses. I came up with it for me
Yeah.
because I had hit a certain age and I went, I've had a lot of really good relationships with a lot of really amazing women. What was the common denominator? Yeah, maybe I should do something about that. And so that's why I came up with it and got a lot of success stories. So,
That is a great thing.
yes. And it's not just about I'm going to call human interpersonal relationships. It also, I've found, applies to income and tribes. All three of them are very important towards a happy relationship. You can find the most perfect person, but if you're struggling, angry, your relationship with money sucks, it will seep in. It will be just another little cancer that reels in. Or the two of you get together, but the tribes that you hang out with are toxic. Doesn't take long before same thing. Being around that negative energy, that low frequency stuff, and pretty soon you're fighting their fights. Like what? And so when I work with my clients, especially on the triple P, it is a multifaceted approach to make sure that when they meet somebody, they're ready in the best way possible. Which again was why my client was like, we've known each other for a long time, so I'm not the same, and this, and I'm not going to accept this, and you're not going to do that, and we're not going to, and this won't be allowed, and we're not. I'm like, whoa, easy. Okay, I'm pretty sure he got the clue. Don't kick the dog too hard. And that gives us 7 minutes to finish up on 3, which is terms. And I put that in there because one of my corporate clients who I've been helping with their business has realized that part of the challenge they've had is actually boundaries with clients, small business, and dealing with certain things. And unfortunately, in this day and age, we have to have certain terms put down if we're going to be doing almost anything nowadays. And just like with kick the dog, there will be terms, there will be boundaries, there will be things that are acceptable, those that are not. But the best time to announce them is as soon as possible. without going overboard. Again, don't kick the dog too hard. But that's why so many things now, when I was working with rental properties, I remember back when I rented my first couple of places, the rental agreement was like one sheet. Name here, sign here, date here, done. When I sold my maintenance company, two of my clients had, one of them, I think it was a 24-page rental agreement. They finally had to go completely digital because printing them out for every person that was renting was not only cost prohibitive, storing that information was getting crazy. If you can imagine, some of the college rental houses had 8 renters in them, 24 pages per person. Why does it have to be 24 pages? Because it seemed like every year or two, somebody would do something and challenge something, so another line had to be added to the rental agreement. Well, why is this in here? Well, that was 3 years ago. Well, what about this part? Oh, yeah, that was 3 years ago too, again, same person. And what about this one? That was 5 years ago. Same house. Different idiot. And we start getting that way, I think, in relationships, especially as we age. A couple of my clients have been in their late 50s, early 60s. And when it comes down to restrictions, woo! Once again, when you were 20, that dating agreement was 1 page. Are you going to be nice to me? Are you going to be kind to me? Good, sign here. 30 years later, all of a sudden, yeah, now it's a 28-page. There'll be none of this, and I'm not going to settle for this, and I don't eat this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this, and this music sucks, and this is these are the movies that I like to watch, and I hate these types of movies, and da 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 da, and pretty soon it gets pretty daunting to try and flip through all the terms before you even get a chance to go out the first time. The person for Kick the Dog, they haven't seen each other in person since 2006. Like, well, you might as well just say they're almost, you don't fully know them. So anybody got any ahas, epiphanies, inputs, comments on this one? Holly?
One of the first things that popped into my head when you were saying that, in accounting, we talk about rules-based accounting versus principles-based accounting. And in other areas of the world, we'd probably call it the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. And the thing that popped into my head is, when you're going with the spirit of the law, it could be kind of hard to measure, when it gets broken and was the intention there and whatever. But you don't need as many sentences, as many little tiny checklists to go down because you've got the spirit of the law. It's when you're going with the letter of the law that all of a sudden you have 26 pages in your contract of every tiny little thing. And so I was just thinking, And also, somebody still, you have that 26 pages and you go by the letter of the law, and you may still end up punishing somebody who doesn't deserve to be punished. And you may also end up on the flip side not punishing somebody who does deserve to be punished because they figured out how to dot all their I's and cross all their T's.
Yep.
So that doesn't mean the letter of the law doesn't have its place. But I was just thinking when it comes to if you have a good relationship, a trusting relationship with somebody, basically the rule is if you're in a place where you have understanding and good intentions, spirit of the law is always better. The only reason to go into the letter of the law is if either somebody has bad intentions, and so basically you need to have it spelled out when you're gonna, you have to deal with this person, or maybe the understanding isn't there. So they aren't capable of understanding the spirit of the law. So you've got to, go back on the letter of the law. But I would hope when we're looking for our kings and our queens, one of the things is we'd have a good enough relationship that we could trust them to go for the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law in something that important. May not be true for our neighbor. It may not be true for our family members, but hopefully at least for our kings and our queens, we can primarily have spirit of the law rules for them rather than letter of the law rules.
Yes. And that's why ABT, we always be testing to make sure that both parties are in alignment. Anybody else before we close out the first hour? Made it through all three again. Yay! And those of you that have been following Triple T for a while know that's not always the case. So now it's time for hour number 2. As I mentioned earlier, if you joined later on in the process, it's time for us to move into hour number 2, where it's open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a question or a topic. I let people on the call answer first. So this is your request. Please join us. It's free, no charge. You don't even have to know how to spell NLP to join us. And the more the merrier. So I know that we found out we've got 2 topics already in line. And so I'm just going to call you out. Lenora, you had one already set up. Let's go.
We're just calling people out now.
Yes, we're just calling people
In
out.
case anybody wanted to pop on before me, you're welcome to. I have found, or I've been introduced, and I'm taking a class on a topic called reality transurfing, and this thing is a beast. And it's really, really, really interesting. And I was curious if anybody has looked into it.
Okay, second hour rules. Who's got some input for Miss Lenora?
I don't know if anybody has.
Everybody's
This is the
You want
first
to
I'm
describe
hearing
it a
of
little
it.
bit? Want to describe
What's
it a
that?
little bit more? Describe it a little bit more?
Sure. So this comes down to a lot of alignment. And I've heard the phrase, but that's it. Okay. So this comes down to a lot of alignment, and that basically surrendering the idea of the ego and allowing divinity, higher self, source, whatever, to flow through you so that you are ever more present, ever more in alignment, and not getting pulled in all these different directions of all these echoes and all these what they call pendulums that are holding us back and keeping us stuck. So I officially start the class on Friday, but I did start reading it, and I very much recommend it if it feels like if it's aligned for somebody. I've had a lot of questions, and you know how we look at like different schools of thought or different people's thought processes. Like there's Bashar, there's Abraham Hicks, there's divine love. There's things that Wayne Dyer has taught, and everybody's saying the same thing. We have positive, we have less than positive, we have light, we have dark. We have it all comes down to one side, the other side. And it just really felt very to the point that I've never heard of this in any group that I've rolled in, and I've rolled in a lot of groups over the years, which I absolutely love. So that's why I was really curious. And the person that introduced it to me, the way that they were speaking, it was like, no, there's something still there, Lenore. Like, keep going, keep following that thread. And it's very, very interesting. So I can absolutely talk more about it next week as I start to learn more about it, but I'm gonna leave it there for now.
Cool. Holly.
Don't know if someone's actually heard of it that wants to jump in. I did have a couple thoughts as you were talking that popped in my head that have just been going through my head all week long. And I don't know if there's a reason for it, but I'll just throw it out there and see. But just a couple thoughts that I've had. One thought that keeps coming through my mind is this idea of manifestation versus creation. And the thought keeps coming to my mind that they're both the same thing. And sometimes when we say creation, we assume it's all about effort. And if you try too hard, you actually can't get there all the time. And, we're trying to control too much. But sometimes with manifestation, we assume it's all about no effort. Where, I always go back to that story for those who know, the person who was drowning and had a helicopter come and had a boat come and he just wouldn't, take advantage. Manifestation takes a certain amount of accepting, doing the effort, becoming the person who's capable of having it, yes, back to the butterfly. Um, so I've been thinking a lot. So I've been getting into sacred geometry, and this is just kind of all coming out for me. And another thing that, and like I said, this is just kind of random thoughts that have been popping through my head all week long. They're just coming out right now. But this idea of how dimensions of existence, and so every time you go down a level, because we talk about the different realms. So what is it? The earth realm and the heaven realm and the different. I'd have to go back and look them all up again. I keep having this thought that it's kind of like math and taking the integral. And every time you go down a level into a new reality, that you're adding a dimension, but every time. So this is a really, really weird thought. I'm trying to think how best to explain it. For those who understand integrals, it probably just instantly will come into your head. But, for instance, in physics, you have acceleration. And then if you take the integral, so acceleration is how much faster you're getting faster. And then if you take the integral, you get acceleration becomes more important because now you're squaring that value, but now you've added velocity. And then if you integrate that, you add position, but velocity just goes up an order of magnitude, and acceleration goes up another order of magnitude. And anyway, so it's kind of this idea of, this is sounding really weird. I know this is, I promise I'm going somewhere with this. But it's kind of this idea of if you collapse back up to source, and then you could create a new reality at any point. And then if you need to tweak it, collapse back up to source, then go back down into a new reality. And so I don't know if that's similar to what you're talking about with this process, but the name specifically kind of just brought that in, of the power of doing all of that. And I do believe that is a thing. I don't know that I've necessarily mastered it, but I do think that a big part of it is staying in structure, staying in structure, staying in structure. If you want anything to work, it's all about the more you could stay in structure, the more you can stay centered and, do as I say, not as I do. But the more you're able to do that, the more powerful your reality is.
Good answer. Mark.
Yeah. Again, Lenore is a seeker, and and she's had a lot of trainings and a lot of different things. And I was thinking about Wayne Dyer and like I said, and all these folks have a a different. It's just another voice in the chorus, and of us trying to understand our higher selves. And I relate religion to that. That if you imagine this vast plain and there's bonfires in the plane, and the more adherence to a particular philosophy, you know, the larger the flame, and um, that's how I conceptualize all the different religions. You know, I'm sure there's a small fire with people with, that follow the Zoroastrian religion. There aren't a lot of adherents. But when you look at all the different uh, that vast plain with all these fires, all these bonfires, and all these people gathered around them, the purpose is the same, to illuminate the darkness. And I think that's, like I said, Lenora being a seeker, she's trying to try all these different. I haven't heard of this particular one, but like I said, I think that's what we're all trying to do, is to illuminate the dark, whether it be, one particular school of thought or one particular avenue of self-knowledge, getting to the, you know, that connection to source. We're all trying to illuminate the darkness. That's my thought.
Yep, exactly.
I love the way that you shared that. Um, and definitely I used to, and the word that never settled in my brain was heal. Like you're healing, you're healing, you're healing. And I can understand that from a ego, human, third dimension. Yes, people hurt your feelings. Yes, you're recovering from that. But I don't think from a soul level it's a healing. I think from a soul level it's a revealing. And it's a constant upward of ascension that people are elevating to, that where, and especially if you look at 2025 and the, what do they call it, consciousness warfare, I think, because people are constantly pulling your attention. Have the, and especially if you're in business, market this, do it this way, do it this way, social media here, social media there. And it can really, you can really get so wrapped up in this idea that it's not good enough no matter what, and I need this and I need this and I need this, and it keeps you in this hum of I still need stuff and I can't move forward because this person's telling me to do that. Verse, I do think, and I don't know if coming home to yourself is the right word for it, but having those internal conversations and really being able to listen to your guidance and listen to that internal wisdom that comes through you, ultimately, whether you want to call it creation or manifestation or revealing or allowing it into alignment. And what used to frustrate the bananas out of me is I would listen to, very early on, I would listen to Abraham Hicks, and they would talk about alignment and alignment and alignment. And I couldn't understand the rapid discord that I would feel, because I would have one thought and I would immediately have another thought right after it, where it was like, oh, you're not good enough, or oh, you can't do that. Like these thoughts where quite literally these trances that I was stuck in, and having to go through, and at least for me, I felt like I had to go through and break them and release them, rather than having this newer perspective where it is, oh, those were experiences. Those were experiences you had to have in order to reveal this new layer that you're understanding. That now makes sense. Had you told me that at the beginning, I would, what are you talking about? Because especially when you grow up in environments where you're taught, but you're going to listen to me, you're going to do as I say, you're going to follow the rules, you're going to go to school, this is follow your checklist. I would have thought, but that's crazy. You're one of those woo-woo people. And now I don't particularly think I'm woo-woo. I really see the indoctrination and the heavy trances that people can get stuck in, which truly want to separate you from this true ability to be present in the moment, to feel this peace, to allow the butterflies to land on your nose, to have that peace in your nervous system that goes, oh, I'm alive, and this is an amazing thing, and not taking it for granted, and really allowing those experiences to flow through.
Great answer. Mark.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Shirley MacLaine and her. I can't remember though it's the double helix, and yeah, I can't remember the exact phrase, name of it, but the soul emerges from the primordial ooze, and through every experience, every lifetime, we travel upward the double helix, and we become, you've met people that have had, that have like old souls, and they've just been on the path longer than we have. Um, and yeah, they don't get too bunged up by what happens in the moment, or, and they seem to just, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. It'll work out in the end, like you said. And they just seemed, they just seem a lot calmer, but that's, I think, because they're ahead of us on the double helix, and we're all moving towards, the top of the double helix through subsequent lifetimes or whatever. But that, because we're all met people with what we call old souls, and they don't get, like I said, this is just one chapter of the book, and they don't get too, bent out of shape by things, and but they have more evolved souls. So when they, um, you know, when you encounter someone with an old soul, you immediately know it. They just seem calmer. They just seem like, hey, this is just one chapter, turn the page. I know what the next, and with every lifetime, we go up the double helix.
Exactly. One quick thing that one of my squirrels dropped by was, in this day and age, with the amount of information that we have available to us, you think about everything that is on the web that we have access to, and the amount of books we have access to. It creates, I don't know, the best phrase I could come up with is information stagnation. We're so overloaded with the access to information that it's almost like we get lazy in understanding new stuff. Well, I don't have. I got a phone. I've got access to everything I need, and I don't really think that we were designed to have access to that much information. You think back, and you don't have to go very far back. Our grandparents, if they didn't have access to radio or television, everything they needed to know was right in that village. They knew who to go to ask about this or that. And if nobody in the village had the answer, well, life goes on. Holly.
I'm chasing squirrels at this point, so I apologize in advance for that. Just so many things kept flooding into my head with everything everybody's sharing. So first of all, a couple of things that Lenora said that really triggered some stuff about healing. I just had a couple downloads of some things I was trying to understand that just kind of fell into place when she was sharing that. Because so first of all, one of the thoughts, I swear these are connected, but one of the thoughts that came through my mind that goes through my mind a lot is, and I'm going to get a little woo-woo, a little bit into my own personal beliefs here, but, I kind of believe that we came from a place where we had everything. We were happy, nothing wrong. We had all the wealth we could ever want, all the manifestation of whatever we could want. And there's a reason we chose to have an Earth experience. There's something we're supposed to get out of this Earth experience that we don't get if we don't have this earth experience, for lack of a better way to say it. And I think sometimes when we get into manifestation, a lot of times, at least for me, like I might get into this. I got to manifest material wealth. I've got to manifest comfort. I've got to manifest. And it's kind of like, I think I've said this one before, am I worrying about, am I trying to manifest away my whole life purpose? But I've been going through a lot of the creation cycle and the destruction cycle, thinking about that, studying it. So there's two kind of thoughts. Okay, because another thing that I did this week is I was watching a lot of anatomy courses, and it was the idea of the skeleton and how an infant's skull is different than an adult's skull. And so one of the things I was thinking about is, an infant their skull is not wrong when they have that soft spot in their head. It's given them space to grow. But if an adult had that soft spot in their head, that would be wrong. That would be unhealthy. And I kind of wonder how much of our lives are kind of like that, where, and what Lenora had said, what specifically was triggering this for me was this idea of, if you told me this before, I wouldn't have been able to understand it. And I started thinking about this talk by S. Michael Wilcox that I heard years ago that really stuck with me, called The Holding Place. And he was talking about how he wanted answers to things he was trying to figure out, but he couldn't get the answer. And then he had several life experiences, and suddenly the answer was just there. He just understood it perfectly because of the life experiences. And he finally had the answer too to why he couldn't get the answer, was because he said he didn't have a place that he calls in his soul called the holding place, that hadn't been carved out, that hadn't been built yet, because he hadn't had the life experiences to be able to hold the answer, to understand it. So I kind of have this idea of, yes, always be testing when the student is ready. Yes, absolutely. This idea that part of what we came down here was to have growth experiences, and growth experiences are destruction, recreation cycles. And, whether it's we're growing and we're building a different, we're becoming a different version of ourselves, but it's still who we're meant to be. Like I said, kind of with that idea of the infant skull versus the adult skull. I think with healing, because healing, part of the root of healing is a restoration to health. But I think that we're recovering who we were, but we're combining it with who we're becoming, if that makes sense. So we are kind of reaching back in our past. We're rediscovering who we are. We're reclaiming our energy. But at the same time, that's not enough. It's not that, why have an earth experience if that's all we're doing? Because we could just stay there and never lose it in the first place. But I think maybe we're expanding. We're giving ourselves access to new understanding, new experiences, so that we can combine what was beautiful, what was pure from before, with what we are becoming in the future. And so, but a lot of that process is, I destroy who I was before, and then I create the new version of myself that's even bigger. It's got space for more. But when I recreate myself, one of the things I do is I pull what was good from what was me before and bring it into the new me. I know I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but a bunch of things just feel like they're kind of clicking into place of like abstract ideas that didn't seem related that seem related now. So thank you for sharing that with me and letting me ramble and put that together for myself.
You're always welcome. The stuff that you bring up, Holly, you always impress a lot of us. And I think I can safely say that for a number of the people here. So thank you.
Agreed.
Anybody else got anything they want to add to this? Did you get the information you were looking for?
I did. Thank you.
Then who was it that stated they had another Mark did. Mark.
Yes.
Yes.
I was watching this podcast, and it was about bless me. It was about the four elements of happiness, and the premise of the presenter was that the four elements of happiness are faith, family, friendships, and fulfillment. And faith is a belief in something bigger, whether it be God, Buddha, the universe, whatever. Because believing in something larger than yourself keeps you small, and it wards off narcissism and grandiosity. So you got to have, and I was raised Catholic, but I believe in, I cotton to the idea that there's something out there, whatever you want to call it. But as long as you believe in something larger than yourself, this was his first one. It kind of keeps you small, keeps you. The second one was family. Um, Family's important. It's supportive. It can be functional or dysfunctional, but it's a key element. If your faith is strong and your family is strong, you're well on your way to being happy in here rather than looking for it out there. Friendships are very important. You people are my tribe, and I feel very close to you, and kind of feel that friendship supports me in a lot of cases. I learn a lot when I'm here. It ennobles me, the knowledge, and and that makes me feel happy that I have such good friends. And the last one is fulfillment, and that's what we're always looking for in our career, which is, or even in our relationship, is durable fulfillment. That fulfillment that every day, that when we wake up, we can't wait to get going, and because we're doing things that fulfill us. And I just wanted everybody's input. Those inputs are not problems, they're challenges and opportunities for happiness. um and yeah, that was his premise, that those four elements, again, another voice in the chorus, that that can help us illuminate the dark. So but I wanted everybody's input as far as what they thought of his breakdown of the four elements of happiness.
All right, who's got something to add to that?
Faith, family, friendship, and fulfillment.
I love the four that they added or that they created. And I think family can be, I was raised with your family is your blood. That's it. And whoever else was there at the Thanksgiving table, versus what I would think of family as now and what I would think of as friendships are quite different, and what it means to me. So I think it's one of those things where to look into it, because again, like that, when I first hear faith, I automatically think religion, but to nobody else but me. And then I have to process through it being, okay, well, define that. What does that look like for you? I do definitely find them to be things that get you out of bed in the morning. And so I think a lot of you know, I wake up at 4 a.m. and I really do wake up excited. I get very excited, especially because I have a morning routine that is like full Lenorified, and it is something that really makes me happy. So when I wake up, I'm not thinking, oh my God, here goes another day. And I used to think that when I would go into other places, or when I literally mentally, emotionally, spiritually was in another place. So I think as people start to explore them and say, what really fulfills me? Am I acknowledging that? Am I honoring that? Am I paying attention to it? There are so many times where people will say, "Oh, I can't wait to the end of work because then I can do what I want." But when they're at the end of work and they're doing what they want, they're talking about how much they did during their day or what they didn't like about their day. So are they really doing what they want? And they find ways to make, bye, Mike, have a great one. They find ways to make the day so much longer. And so you're not at work for 8 hours a day. You're probably at work for, if you do the math, if you wake up an hour early before work, so if that's 9 right there, because now you tacked on another hour and then 2 hours talking about it, at least you're adding up more time and you're not paying attention to the things that really do fulfill you. And it really comes down into when you're doing something that brings you joy, whether it's organizing your closet, whether it's preparing a meal, whether it's spending time with family, are you fully present? Because if these are the 4 elements that bring people joy, that bring people happiness, are you present in them? And I think that adds another layer to really acknowledging the importance of faith, the importance of family and friendships. Are they just words or are you really connected to them? I love that you shared that, Mark. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Who else has something to add? Really? Crickets. I think, and I can see, Mark, why you commented on the first topic of the night, feeding crows. There's so much around us that people miss, and I one of the things I love about what I get to help people with is that ability to start noticing things around them. And not just the physical things around them, the energy around them, the people around them, the words floating around in their mind, their own voice. A lot of people don't really understand when you try to tell them how good they have it and they can't compute. And then you go traveling somewhere and you see a bunch of kids with a stick and a can, and they are having a blast. They don't have a clue that the fact that they're living in a shack made out of a couple of sheets of tin and they've never slept on a bed, and they don't know that they're not supposed to be happy. Lenore.
I love that you shared that, and especially about paying attention to the things that are going on and you're not realizing how good you have it. One of the things that I would say I hear a lot of people say is, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm so busy. I'm tired. And I do think there's a beautiful TEDx talk about it, that your busyness is glorified. "Ah, I'm so busy." And you're
Oh,
so busy being busy. And then you're so busy complaining about how busy you are. And I think it contributes to this toxicity of things that are draining people, especially if you pay attention. And I will wholeheartedly admit this till the cows come home. I can be on social media and go right into that scrolling and I will feel the shift. I will feel the drain the second I hit the search versus looking very specifically at people I specifically follow, people I specifically unfollow. The second I open it up, you literally can feel this drain. And it's a slight one if you're not paying attention and you're like, I don't understand why I'm so bored. And you do get a little dopamine kick somewhere in there, but you don't understand why you're so exhausted. And it's because it's a full disconnect. They're literally sucking your energy. But so many things are sucking our energy. And if we're not paying attention to it, how do we know where to start? Where do we go? And one of the things that I really love to help people with is the voices in their head, because voices in my head have been very suspicious. And I had no idea. It was totally a normal thing for me to think I was a piece of shit. And paying attention to that and then having conversations with people like you, with people like TJ and Holly, and having those conversations saying, how else might we look at that? Can be kind of shocking, but at the same time, holy bananas. You have no idea how else to think until you get into conversations where people are pushing you and encouraging you and walking with you to look at things another way and to possibly, perhaps by chance, take a moment and think a different way. Because we were just thinking on autopilot, and trust me, they know it. They know it. They know it. Sorry, I think I ranted
And
there.
and it took me a while thinking back that it has always, I think it's always bothered me to hear people talk bad about themselves, especially women. Ever since I was young, I hated hearing women talk bad about themselves. And those that know me really well, how many how many times have I called some of you out personally for saying something? I'm like, did you just say that? What?
I would totally agree with you. But here's the other thing. It's taught to us. It's taught to us.
Yeah, so,
Like taught to us in families, taught to modeled for us, reiterated for us on the commercial. Like nobody knows what else to think until you get into better conversations, quite literally better conversations, because you're taught that it's normal and it's glorified and it's bonded over and it's a little twisted.
yep,
Well,
yeah. Again, tribe. How important is tribe? When they say that you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most, it is so true, so true. And I still have friends all over the world, and I still get to travel a lot, and when I look at some of the groups that I used to hang out with, I still get along with them, but they haven't progressed past the mob mentality or tribe mentality that they're stuck in, and they don't realize that level. And it is what it is in a way, that I understand that if you don't know, you don't know. And comfort zones can be a challenging place to get out of. Wonderful place to visit, but nothing grows there. And it can be a challenge to climb out of them. But I saw a very, I don't even know what word to use, prophetic, whatever, video of a fish that is in a, a little round bit of water next to, and I couldn't tell if it was a lake or the ocean or whatever, but this fish is in this tiny little bit of water where, when the water receded because of the tide or whatever, this little bit of water was what captured the fish. And somehow, some way, the fish realized there was something better, and you see the fish force itself up onto the sand where it could have easily died and managed to get its way over into the lake or the ocean or whatever and take off. Out of the comfort zone, into that dangerous area. Now, was the fish safe in that little environment? Well, yeah, it was the biggest fish in the whole bit of water. Was there enough to keep the fish alive? Who knows? Could the fish have waited for the tide to roll back in and reclaim that little bit of water? Possibly. Unless it was a lake. And so when I saw that, I saw so many people that were in that little comfort zone, that tiny little piece of their world. And some will stay and die there. And some will be crazy enough to make the pilgrimage to get to the bigger stuff. Lenore, you got your hand up.
I know I'm getting extremely passionate, and I'm
Yay.
doing my best not to come across like I'm standing on a soapbox. When Mark wrote in the chat and he said, "We are all dreamers, seekers, singers, and makers, and we know many things: how to be rich, how to be poor, how we can help people restore their dreams when the world has stolen them away, how to help someone let go of a loved one." Of a loved one who is dying or who is passing away. I love that you shared that. And especially I've spent a very good amount of time with people who were towards the end of their life. And I think one of the best things that is one of the greatest gifts, I think, in this chaotic world is the ability to help people understand that they're not being judged and that it's okay that if they had this disappointment, if they had this heartache or something else was going on, to really help them feel understood in that moment, especially because there are a number of clients. I tend to work with, yes, I've worked with the geriatric population, but I tend to work with men in their 30s, their 40s, and their 50s. And it's almost like they were sold this dream. They were sold this idea, and they feel like something got taken from them. They feel like they got robbed or somebody did like a sneak attack on them and they didn't see it coming, and helping them understand that it's not their fault, that they were doing their best, that there is no judgment, and that they can still keep going. I think is something that is a very profound, deep shift, something that can only come across like, oh, it only is in a movie with this really such and such character. When shifts like that happen every single day. And I love that we are all in the space that we offer that to other people. And that was something that sparked in my noodle when Mark had shared that. So thank you for sharing that, Mark.
Good stuff.
Welcome. Something that Lenore said squirrel's been bouncing around and it finally came out. We're all, talk about the soul, Laura, we're all born aware of our divinity, that we have this part of us, this immortal soul that will survive, far past our mortal, remains. But we're all born knowing that, but that's hidden from us, so that, because if we knew that nothing that we do in this lifetime matters, all the things that people focus on, wealth, power, greed, celebrity, whatever, again, they would lose their meaning. So we're taught at some point to forget about our divinity. And I have a story that goes with that. My great niece was a little baby, and her older sister, she was in a crib, and her older sister, Catherine, her mother saw her sneaking into Avery's room, and she was curious. So she went to the door and she listened, and Catherine was about 7, and she was talking to Avery. And she said, and this just makes my skin tingle, but she said to Avery, she goes, "Can you remind me of what heaven is like? Because I'm beginning to forget." We're all born
Yes.
aware of our divinity, but we have to have it hidden from us because nothing else, because anything we strive for in this lifetime would have little value if that was front. But, but that's, again, we carry that immortal part of us, during our lifetime. But yeah, when she said that, when my niece told me that story, I was like, whoa, okay. That confirms it. She wanted Catherine, Catherine wanted Avery to remind her what heaven was like because at 7 she was beginning to forget. Wow.
Wow.
That is gorgeous.
Who else has anything to add to that? Holly.
For those who are on the call, you could probably see I've been typing a lot of stuff in the chat that has been coming in my head. I love those elements of happiness, kind of, circling back to that, the 4 elements of happiness, faith, family, friendships, fulfillment. Um, but one of the things going through my mind too is there's so many different ways to define happiness. And I think those are definitely elements. But I kind of started thinking how related they are to the human needs. And I kind of was wondering how much overlap there is in a lot of these. So, there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs of, physiological, safety, social esteem, self-actualization. And I was thinking, well, social, okay, you got your family, you've got your self-actualization, that's, going for fulfillment. And then I started thinking about, Tony Robbins' 6 human needs. So you've got certainty, uncertainty and variety, significance, love, connection, growth, contribution. Um, I Some of these have, maybe a couple unique things, but one of the things that was fascinating me is how much overlap there are on a lot of these lists. Talking about, let's see, Chase Hughes. I made sure that he posted this publicly because I know he's got stuff he likes to keep private and stuff he posts publicly. But if you go to his 6MX, he has significance, approval, acceptance, intelligence. He has what he calls pity. I believe that's a need to be heard and believed, and then strength and power. But then Viktor Frankl talks about the importance of finding meaning in your life, and that you can endure any what is it? You can endure any how or any what as long as you have a strong enough why. And then just this also led me to they call them the 3 treasures in Chinese medicine, and I swear there's a 4th one somewhere, but I can't remember what it was. But it's Jing, Qi, and Shen, which is known as essence, breath, and spirit. I've heard it said, I don't know how accurate this is, but that like Jing is your life force. Qi is what you get from your health, so your exercise, your breathing, your posture, what you eat, all of that. And then your Shen is this crosses over with contribution, but your Shen comes into your body when you're doing something that you love or when you're around people that you love. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if anybody else is seeing any other things they'd like to add to that list or seeing anything meaningful from those crossovers. But I think it's interesting that even with these different definitions of needs or happiness or whatever you may call it, there are definitely some patterns and some threads that seem to be very common. And those 4, the family, the friends, the fulfillment, faith, family. Faith is kind of an interesting one. I think that definitely adds a new dimension as well. But yeah, the family, friendships, and fulfillment seem to be on every single list. So
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Very much so. Thanks for all the handouts, Holly.
And for those of you that are watching on YouTube or watching the recording, unfortunately, you guys don't get to see the comment section. Another reason for you to join us live, because you miss out quite a bit. Holly put in a lot of really good stuff in the comments that I am unable to share with you guys. So thanks, Holly. Mark.
Well, Holly mentioned she kind of danced around it a little bit, but where I went was all those different threads. I started thinking of the threads being woven into something. And maybe that's the fabric of life is to, weave all the threads together, in your own particular pattern. The Irish always I have a sweater that's knit in the Donegan pattern, and an Irish knit sweater. But, when you put all that stuff together, all the different threads, maybe we're supposed to take all that and weave our own, the fabric of our lives.
Awesome metaphor.
Very.
Anybody else got anything they want to add to that? All right, kids, we got 10 minutes left. Who's got something else to add to it? Another question, another topic? Lenora.
I definitely have another question in case did anybody else have a question? Nancy, you look so cozy over there. My question is, when we talk about God, source, the universe, divinity, how do you connect to it? What does it look like? Do you tune in on a regular basis? Do you hear it throughout the day? Do you have certain things that you like to do to experience it? What are your thoughts?
Okay, who's got an answer for Lenora? Don't all jump in at once. Come out of trance.
Well, like there are times where I used to think, goes back to how focused I was, that it had to be in this like great state of meditation and I had to be still for a whole hour and I couldn't think any thoughts. And it really hasn't been like that at all. And I think a lot of my understanding came from working one-on-one with people and clearing out the shit that I couldn't hear. And or clearing out the shit that I was hearing and was way too loud. And then quite literally noticing my recalibration afterwards, how I was yawning, what I was saying on recordings when I was working with coaches and when they were walking me through processes. Then also being extremely curious to see how it was unfolding in my life. Like I'm a straight up detective. I will look for things very much so, and I will look for that feedback of my guidance. Oh, this was a big one that I came to today. I can't believe there was a freaking 8 minutes left before I told you guys this.
Welcome to
So
Triple
with
P.
with reality transurfing, there's an infinite number of timelines. There is you can intend something, but I agree completely with Holly when she said, don't attach to it. There is a component of detachment that, yes, a point of focus is helpful, but it doesn't have to be this way. And I used to think it had to be exactly like this, or I was wrong and I was terrible. And realizing that, but also realizing there are infinite possibilities. So as you all know, I did not like future pacing for quite a while or thinking about the future because I associated a lot of pain with it, as in, it didn't look exactly like this, and oh my gosh, I did it wrong. Versus, it's a possibility. There's infinite possibilities. Yes, it might look like that. And chances are I've gone through enough experiences where it kind of looked like that, but there was no way I could have ever predicted it was going to look the way that it looked or transpired the way that it transpired. But that goes also into, I love the idea of being able to see the future. Love it. That way I'm prepared. At the same time, it's constantly unfolding. We're constantly shifting with our thoughts, with our energies, with our vibration. We're constantly shifting. So this whole idea of I need to know exactly what's going to happen next, not so possible since it's constantly being revealed. So I thought that was really interesting. And it really took the urgency and panic and craziness, popped it right out. Hope that helps the rest of you.
I love that. I've got 8 minutes left, and now I think of this. Welcome to Triple T. Yes. Mark, what do you got for us?
Yeah, the really good stuff usually comes in the last 5 minutes of the session. Um, yeah, no, I was thinking about what Lenora said about how do you connect to source and to trying to recall what Wayne Dyer said about most people's connection to source is very corroded. And when you clean that crap up, you can send a clear intention to source. We used to call that prayer in Catholic school. But um, but when you clean up that connection to source, the future is unfocused energy. Like I said, it hasn't been woven yet. And I think that, whatever that is, whatever you ascribe that to be, takes all our intentions and weaves them all together to create the future. So, Lenore, you're right that it's formless. You can try to, because we're made in the image of God, that, what would we weave? And that's what it should be. No, but you got to send out your intention and let, that weave it together in, beautiful ways, because it'll take all our intentions and weave that thing we call the future, because the future is just formless energy until we, and we don't get to we get to give the ingredients to the chef, but we don't we don't we're not the cooks, and it'll weave all those intentions together into this thing we call the future.
I love how you close that loop of weaving with the sweater from before, and now you applied it again.
It's all interactive.
Holly?
I'll try to get this in real fast. So if it helps for anybody to, if you're worried about future pacing or manifesting or anything, I kind of think of future pacing as, you're driving in a car and all you're saying is, if I stay on this road, this is the way I'm going. I don't have any intention of getting off it right now. Where will I end up? Maybe I'm going to end up in California. There's literally nothing that says I can't turn that wheel, get on a different road and go to Florida. There's nothing that says I can't go to Maine. There's nothing that says I can't go to, Canada, to Alaska, wherever it is. There's nothing that says that California is better or worse than Florida. But it's useful to see, hey, if I don't change anything, what path am I on right now? So that I can then say, yes, is that actually where I want to end up? Because if it's where I want to end up, okay, let's stay on this road. And, I'm going to be making micro changes all the way along, but in general, I know where I'm headed. And if I don't care where I'm headed, doesn't matter where I go. I'll end up somewhere awesome. I'll have an adventure and, great. So just because you're on the path for a certain future doesn't mean you can't change that path at any given point. It's really, really, really easy. But it also doesn't mean there isn't value in knowing what way you're headed if you don't make any changes.
Great metaphor. And I've had a number of clients who were so uncomfortable with the concept of future pacing, and I had to point out to them, everybody future paces all the time. You've been doing it your entire life. Making supper plans is future pacing. Like Holly said, driving somewhere is future pacing. Deciding what clothes you're going to wear is future pacing. So many of these things are future pacing. You can't, it's really hard to live life without any form of future pacing whatsoever. I mean, you want to talk about it being a free surfer. I'm just going to let myself get plopped in the middle of the ocean and I'm just going to lay there on an inner tube. Something will happen. Yeah, something probably, but even that's a future pace because you've decided I'm not going to think, my future pacing is I'm not going to think of much until I get really hungry and sunburned and thirsty. And then I wish that I would have future paced some solutions to those a little bit better. And here we are. We future paced ourselves right up to the top of the second hour. Just like that. I want to again thank you guys as I do every week. I am humbled that I've had the ability, the honor to make it to 169 of these because you guys are willing to show up. You're willing to interact. You're willing to bring your knowledge, your opinions, your beliefs, even if it's simply just to watch, just to be present, just to be another square on the screen. It helps us out. So thank you for giving up your precious commodity of time. Like I've said it many times, I still haven't figured out how to reproduce it and give it back. As soon as I do, you'll be the second to know. So until then, please go out and absolutely future pace yourself the most amazing life possible. Feed the crows, don't kick the dogs. Live life on your terms. Live, laugh, smile, love. Put the brick on the throttle. Scare yourself a little bit every now and then. Scream like a little kid. And until next week, I'll see you back then. Love you guys. Bye.
Thank
night,
you,
all.
everyone. Awesome class, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, I almost forgot. Love you, Mom. For all the people on
Can't forget
YouTube. Can't forget. Whew.